Good evening, members of the committee, applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public. I now call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for April 16th, 2026 to order. As this meeting is also being held virtually, I will remind you that the meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the County of Brant YouTube account. We have no members online tonight. They are all present in council chambers. Applicants, agents, owners, and delegations may also participate virtually. Please ensure that your screen displays your name correctly, your camera is off, and your microphone is on mute until called upon to speak. Any public delegations will have 10 minutes to speak to the current application. Any members of the public attending in person must complete the sign-in sheet in order to receive notification. If you speak on any item, please come to the podium and speak into the microphone and understand that your name will appear in the meeting minutes. If you wish to receive a copy of the committee's decision, please contact the County of Brant Planning Department. This meeting is held in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act, which requires notice of the public information meeting, and the public notice sign is to be posted. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss minor variance and consent applications and provide those in attendance the opportunity to provide feedback. A copy of the meeting agenda with all related materials is available on the County of Brant website. Once the presentations, public hearing, and question period are complete for each item, if the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision which is final following the 20-day appeal period. The order of delegations are as follows: planning staff report and recommendation, applicant agent presentation, questions and discussion, public comments, further questions of clarification, and the decision. I'll now call attendance. Please indicate by stating present if you are in attendance. Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett.
Present.
Steve Schmidt.
Present.
John Vamus.
Present.
Bob Hamilton.
Present.
Jane Peneg.
Present.
Rebecca Smith.
Present.
Thank you. We'll now move to item 2, approval of the agenda. Do any members have any items to be added to the agenda? Since there are now none, can I have a mover and a seconder? Member Emmett and Schmidt, can I please have your motion?
It's moved by myself, seconded by Member Schmidt, that the agenda for the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of April 16, 2026 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Peneg.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve the agenda has carried. We'll now move to item 3. Are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any of the items on the agenda tonight? It appears there are no conflicts tonight. We'll move to item 4, the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting, March 12, 2026. Do any committee members have any errors or omissions to note? It appears there are none. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this motion? Member Peneg? Member Hamilton, can I please have your motion?
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Hamilton, that the minutes of the March 12, 2026 meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to be approved as printed.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Peneg.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to adopt the minutes from March 12, 2026 has carried. They are now in record. I will now introduce the first item, 5.1, application B2-26-LK, and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening, committee members. I'll be presenting consent application B226LK from Buck Burlock of Lincoln Priamo on behalf of 214 Carson Co., courtesy of Steve Little, for the lands located at 169 Potter's Road. Subject lands are located on the east side of Potter's Road, east of Shawcross Street, and north of Bethel Road. The lot area is approximately 18.42 hectares with 459 meters of frontage along Potter's Road. The lands currently have one single detached residence and 3 accessory farming structures. Excuse me. The subject lands are currently designated as prestige employment within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as light industrial M246 and agricultural 202. The lands being severed as part of this application are strictly zoned as M246. The application proposes to sever the subject lands into 2 parcels, with the severed lands resulting in a minimum lot area of 1.63 hectares with approximately 93.5 meters of frontage, and the retained lands resulting in a minimum lot area of 5.5 hectares with approximately 463.5 meters of frontage along Potter's Road. In order to help facilitate the development of the subject lands, only the northern portion of the lands have zoning approval for development. As such, the consent application will allow the orderly transfer of lands required to implement the development. 214 Carson's client is in the process of acquiring the parcel located at 197 Potter's Road and future severed lands, which would result in the consolidation on title. Sorry. As part of my review, the application conforms to the policies within the the Planning Act, Provincial Planning Statement, in County of Brant official plan and zoning bylaw. Any future development of the subject lands are currently being reviewed through the concurrent site plan application for the M246 zoned lands. In accordance with the Planning Act, notice of the application was mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the, and public notice sign was posted on the property as well. As of today, no public comments or objections were received. As a result of my review of the application and for the reasons outlined in my report, it is my professional opinion that application B226LK be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan, for the presentation. Do any committee members have any questions on this application? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, you said that this is now part of the town of Paris or the settlement of Paris. Is it strictly just this lot, or when that was put forward in March, was there more area other than just this this one parcel that's to be severed tonight?
Through the chair, the entire property is located within the settlement area of Paris.
It is now. It wasn't before, was it?
It has been since the official plan has been in place as of
In March.
2024.
Official plan from previously, or the one that's just got approved?
Through the chair, it's as of the one that's recently been approved in 2024.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions on this application? Member Panag?
I just have a question to the staff here, Madam Chair, that the archaeological study is not mentioned here, or the Six Nations comments are not mentioned anywhere.
Through the chair. So that was handled at the zoning bylaw application stage. And we are working through the site plan currently for the property. But we have had feedback from archaeological and they had no further comments to the application.
Thank you.
Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, I see there's no 911 number here. Is that going to be handled through the site thing? Because right now, if they're out there trying to build this thing and they've got no 911, how does emergency get there if it's not identified? Because you've got the house at the one end and the current house or the property prior to severance. After severance, you haven't made any movement to identify this severed piece of property.
So through the chair, the lands are going to be consolidated with 197 Potter's Road through a future purchase. As of right now, I believe you're correct, they wouldn't have a civic address assigned to it. But if you would like, if the committee would like that to be added, then by all means.
Okay, you just mentioned something there that triggered another question. 197 is completely separated now, and you're saying that's going to be purchased by the severed part and amalgamated together? Is that what you're telling me?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, and that was never identified in any of this stuff that we got today?
Through the chair, I believe it was identified in my report that the lands were to be consolidated with 197 Potter's Road.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Then I would only add, do we need a condition for that? Because I don't think I saw a condition for the merging.
Through you, Madam Chair, and the agents are with us this evening too to explain kind of the order of operations for the land development and the land purchase. But as it relates to this application, it's not presented as a boundary adjustment or a severance and a lot line, and a consolidation. It's being presented as a creation of a new lot. An additional step separate from this application would be dealt with through the ownership group with consolidation of parcels, but not a requirement of this application.
So if they didn't purchase that piece, you'd have a piece of property that is not identified, am I correct? As Chair asked, if the condition's there that it's going to be bought, then it would just automatically roll into 197. If that never materializes, then you've got two pieces of property and one that's not identified. Or am I misunderstanding?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think you have it correct. I think it would be wise to include the condition should the future consolidation not occur, that we have identified the newly created lot with a civic address.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Member Smith?
One quick question through the chair. The site-specific zoning that's on that severed lot, is that just to do with the size of that parcel, or are there specific use restrictions? Just if you know it.
Yeah, through the chair. It's a bit of both. It's for additional uses on the property from the M3 zone added to the M2 zone. And they have a couple site specifics, one for height increase and driveway width and reduced parking ratio.
Thank you. And if I could just make one comment about the consolidation of the lots, just because they're under two different ownerships currently, so I don't think we have to worry about it too much under this application, because the consolidation can happen outside of the committee of adjustment, just through an ownership transfer. So I just want to, for the benefit of the committee, I think if we want to include that condition, totally fine, but I think it would happen regardless, just to make a note. Thank you.
Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, I see nothing here for the fire department. Is that because it's within the settlement of Paris that you don't need to have that put in as a new lot being severed? Or will there be water lines coming all the way down in order to be help in case there is a fire at that severed portion?
Through you, Madam Chair, just for clarification, you're referring to the rural firefighting fee?
Correct.
So you have it correct. This development will occur on full municipal services. Water will be available, so no rural firefighting fee is required.
All right, thank you. And when would that that water be available to the site?
Through the chair, we are working with the applicant through a concurrent site plan application to ensure that services will be provided on site. in a timely manner in their timelines as well. So right now, we don't have a concrete timeline for that. However, we will establish that through the site plan process.
And secondary to that, that's going to have to come from that new warehouse that's being built closer to Rust Acres Road at some time. And when is that land, chunk of land in between going to be serviced in order to provide water to do it? It's everybody's working, but I don't think they believe they own that piece in between, do they? So that's what really left up to the county to get that put in, and what's the plan, I guess, for that?
Through the chair, are you speaking about the already developed industrial subdivision just to the west of this property?
Correct. Is that all been serviced?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that it has been serviced, yes.
So water can be, has made it down to Potter Road?
I'd have to double check that. I don't know if I have that information in front of me right now.
These are just questions, I'm just making sure that we've got it covered off.
I'll maybe suggest we wait to hear from the applicant.
But the
and see
applicant
if-
doesn't own the land on the other side.
No, I understand, but maybe in their planning for the future, they have some information on how to address these problems.
Fair enough.
Any other comments, questions before we move on?
Through the
to
chair,
plan?
maybe I'll just add that the intent, and I think Dan already mentioned it, the intent of the applicant is to be on full municipal services when the
Yeah.
site is developed.
It was just trying to have it identified. I didn't read it in here, or I may have missed it.
Okay. If there's no further comments or questions for staff, I will now move to the applicant.
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Brooke Burlock. I'm a planner with Zelenka Primo Limited. We have been retained by 214 Carson Co. for this consent application for 169 Pottruff Road in the county of Brant. So thank you to staff for processing our consent application and for Logan for providing a thorough overview of the proposal and proposed severance. We have reviewed staff's report and support staff's recommendations and the conditions of consent included within that recommendation. Perfect. So the subject lands are located northeast of the intersection of Bethel Road and Pottruff Road. Logan gave a pretty in-depth breakdown of the location of the subject lands and the policy behind it. So I'm just going to add a bit more points, and then I can be available to answer any questions. So the subject lands are primarily designated prestige employment under the official plan, with some portions designated natural heritage. As Logan mentioned, a zoning bylaw amendment application was recently approved on March 10th, rezoning the northerly portion of the lands to light industrial, subject to site-specific provisions. And we also know that there is a site-specific provision on the southerly agricultural zone, just to address the applicability of a split zone property. So the proposed consent application is to sever the subject lands into two parcels. So again, I know there was discussion related to that 197 parcel, but the application is just speaking to 169 Pottruff. So the severed lands is shown in green. It's the northerly section shown on the slides, and then the retained lands are the yellow portion. And then again, just kind of circling back to that 197 Pottruff parcel. So it's just that small green highlighted section just north of the proposed severed lands. Six Nations is in the process of purchasing that 197 Pottruff Road parcel. So they currently have an agreement purchase of sale to purchase 197 Pottruff Road and also an APS to purchase the proposed severed lands. And, pending, there's an approval for this consent application. Once Six Nations is able to finalize the purchase of the 197 parcel, they'll also be purchasing the severed parcel, and it will consolidate on title. And I'm happy to answer some more questions related to the process. So given that 214 is the current landowner of 169 Pottruff and Six Nations is the intended landowner of the 197 parcel, a condition related to the consolidation was not necessarily appropriate or possible. There's no condition of consolidation, but just knowing that in accordance with the proposed development, it is anticipated to be consolidated. So in terms of the proposed development, the proposed development includes 2 industrial buildings just located on the northerly portion of the subject lands. This is the portion of the lands subject to the light industrial zoning. And here's just another kind of zoomed up image of the proposed development. So the proposed development in Severance is consistent with the PPS and represents efficient use of underutilized lands. As Logan mentioned, the proposed development in Severance application conforms with the official plan and zoning bylaw. The proposed Severance, as I mentioned, will enable the orderly transfer of lands required to implement the redevelopment. And it represents good land use planning, so I'll be able to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll ask to start. Does some of that presentation address your concerns, Member Hamilton?
Well, it does. I understand it now, but we're going to approve a severance that is conditional for additional thing to consolidate it. And I'm just saying, how many other times have we went ahead and done something with the expectation of a consolidation with no conditions applied to it? That's where maybe it's something, I'm just confused, maybe.
I'll ask any other committee members to comment on it. Member Smith?
Sorry, I'm going to put on my planner hat here for a minute. So I think in previous applications, when it's in an agricultural area, there actually is a policy requirement for consolidation because we can't obviously do lot creation in an agricultural area. Although because this is within a settlement area, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is in a settlement area, essentially you're just creating a new lot. So if they choose down the line to actually consolidate those parcels, that's up to them because it's already in a settlement area. So they would just have to change the look of the development if that lot actually didn't consolidate with that full parcel. Please.
Through the chair, thank you for clarifying that. And I'd also like to add, when we initially brought this proposal to the county through the pre-con applications, the 197 Pottruff parcel wasn't a part of the plan. So we were just looking at the 169 Pottruff parcel. And so we had originally, in 214, looked to develop just the severed lands as is, and it was developable, it's appropriate, and just the severed lands on its own does conform with the zoning bylaw. So in the event, there's worried that it wouldn't consolidate, the portion of the severed lands is still developable.
Okay, thank you. Quick question. The house at 197, what is it zoned at currently?
Through the chair, it's zoned light industrial, subject to site-specific provisions.
The actual house is?
The property where the house is located?
So that was in the thing when the rest of it got done?
Yes,
Okay,
correct, yeah.
thank you. I was unclear that was actually happening. I thought it was still residential. So, okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Somewhere in here I noticed that you referred to, or Logan referred to 214's Carson Co's client. Can I ask what would the client use be of that? You just said it was light industrial. the proposed buildings?
Through the chair, so the client is Six Nations, so Six Nations is purchasing the severed lands and the 197 Pottruff portion, and so the uses are manufacturing.
Okay, thank you. And with that, are there any final comments or questions? Or no, the public portion, is there anybody in this chamber who wishes to speak to this application? It appears there are none, so I'll ask for any final comments or questions, either to the agent or staff. And since there are none, I'll now ask for a motion. Member Smith, please go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve application B226LK as the application, subject to the conditions included, as the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms to the policies of the official plan and the zoning bylaw.
Do you wish to add the condition, Member Hamilton? No?
I do not.
But first, is there a seconder, Member Emmett? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Penag,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B226LK has carried. It has now been approved, that application. I will now introduce item 5.2 for application B3225RF and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report.
Good evening. I'll be presenting consent application B32-25-RF. The applicants are Scott Plander on behalf of Derek Fowler, the owner. This application proposes a severance to create a new residential lot within the settlement area of Paris. A zoning bylaw amendment associated with this application, ZBA 24-25-RF, was approved by council on April 14th, 2026. This application established site-specific provisions within the residential singles and semis R2 zone to permit a reduced lot area and frontage in support of the severance. Staff is recommending approval of this application, subject to the conditions outlined in the report. The subject lands are located north of 14 Queen Street with a frontage of approximately 25 meters and an area of approximately 1,000 square meters. Currently, the lands contain one existing single detached dwelling and a detached accessory structure. Surrounding area consists of low-density residential. The subject lands are serviced by municipal sewer and water. Subject lands are designated as neighborhoods within the official plan and are zoned, located within the settlement area of Paris. They are zoned residential singles and semis within the zoning bylaw. Consent application B32-25-RF proposes to create one residential lot with a minimum frontage of 8 meters and an area of 345 square meters. Zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 24-25-RF was approved to rezone the lands to residential singles and semis with exceptions. R2-45 permitting a minimum lot frontage of 8 meters and a minimum lot area of 345 square meters. This application is currently within the appeal period. Through circulation to commenting agencies and review of this application, it has been determined that the proposed lot meets the zoning requirements for frontage and lot area through the recent approval of the zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed lot can be adequately serviced by existing municipal infrastructure, subject to conditions that include a site development plan agreement to ensure drainage and grading are managed properly before any development can happen. The Development Engineering Division also reviewed the proposal and generally support it. A municipal tree on the property will require appropriate mitigation and protection measures, and any other tree removal from the property will be subject to the Ontario Forestry Act. All future development will be subject to site development agreement and technical review through the building permit process. Notice of this application, including contact information and the date of public hearing, was circulated by mail on April 1st to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands in accordance with Section 45.5 of the Planning Act. A site visit was conducted on February 3rd, and the public notice sign was posted on the property on March 22nd. Public comments were received, which raised concerns regarding the scale, future development, neighborhood character, parking, tree protection, impacts on neighboring properties, and the intended use of accessory structures. Additional comments received also noted concerns related to compatibility, over-intensification, access, and precedent on future applications. Many of these concerns are being addressed through the conditions of this consent application, such as the site development agreement to be registered on title, and through the building permit process. In conclusion, the proposed severed lot conforms to the applicable policies of the Planning Act. It's consistent with the provincial planning statement. It conforms to the County of Brant official plan and complies with the zoning bylaw 6116. It is my professional opinion that the request is appropriate and represents good planning, and therefore I am recommending consent application B32-25-RF be approved, subject to the attached conditions. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Roxana, for the presentation. I'll ask committee members, do you have any questions on this application? Member Smith.
Through the chair to staff, because I know the concern typically with these applications is maybe you're creating a lot that doesn't appear to match the fabric of the existing area. So just for my benefit, did staff complete an analysis of kind of the blocks around this property to determine if there are similar lots that are around that 8-meter to 10-meter frontage? And if you can maybe explain a little bit of that, it'd be helpful.
Through Madam Chair, yes, we did complete an assessment for compatibility with the lot fabric of the neighborhood, and there are many there's like a mix of different lot areas in this neighborhood, so we did find a lot of narrow and deeper lots that do have a frontage of 8 to 11 meters. So essentially, this lot would be compatible, and actually, we did get a survey or a sketch indicating that the frontage would actually be 8.6 meters.
Any other comments, questions from committee? Member Emmett?
Through the chair to staff, I see in the sketch of the lot layout that we were presented, is that a one-car garage or two?
Through the Madam Chair, I believe that's a one-car garage.
So there'll be room for a car in the garage and one on the driveway sort of thing?
Through the
'Cause
chair, yes, that's correct.
There's very few houses anymore that just has one car. That's my concern, because the street's narrow and all the other cars on the street, I don't think there's gonna be much parking on the street for anybody living in that house. That's all my concern.
Through the Madam Chair, the conceptual plan does show that there will be 2 parking spaces, and I believe that's going to be a 2-story dwelling. So as per zoning standards, we do require 2 parking spaces for the house, so it does comply with zoning. The conceptual plan does anyway.
Any other comments? Yes? Member Smith?
I just have one comment. It's probably not going to be a very fond comment, but I find it quite interesting that the zoning's approved for a lot that hasn't been created yet. So I just maybe wanted to make that note, because if the committee did not approve the severance, we'd be in a bit of a position here. So just making a comment. Frontage was noted, and it was zoning bylaw where the lot has not been created yet. So thank you.
And that was one of my questions, to find out if the zoning bylaw amendment was approved on Tuesday night, and I guess it was.
Yes.
Thank you. I had a question regarding page 5. At the top, there's a chart, and it shows the required and what will happen with this. And it says, street setback to the habitable portion of the dwelling, so, and it's got 4.5 meters, and with the 2 asterisks, and then the note is, provided the minimum width of the driveway shall be 5.6 meters. maybe I'm not understanding it, but how does the driveway width impact the street setback? Wouldn't it be the driveway length?
Through the chair, it is the driveway width. So with this one, the street setback to the habitable portion would be 4.5 meters requirement. But this is based on the driveway width of being at least 5.6 meters. But right now, the street setback to the habitable portion is 6 meters, so therefore, the driveway width complies.
Okay, I see that. And then a few rows down, the second bottom one, the landscaped open space minimum, 30% is required, and then it shows this has 52%. And looking at the sketch, on page 19 of 20, first off, what is that yellow block? I assume that's another building proposed behind it? The proposed house?
Oh, through the chair in the back, in the rear, that's an accessory structure that they are proposing.
Okay,
Yeah, through the chair, I think in this instance, from the conceptual plan, they're indicating that at least 52% of the landscape open space would be provided. I believe this can change as
okay.
development happens, but the agent is also here and he would be able to provide a bit more information regarding that.
Okay, thank you. It's just that when I saw the 52%, it seemed pretty large considering the size and the buildings on it. Okay. Any other comments, questions from committee? Member Panay?
Through the chair, I have a question to the staff. The large tree in front of the lot, which is very close to the sidewalk, if you try to put a driveway there, there's no way, without taking the roots of that tree, you can have a driveway, unless I go and measure it. But it doesn't seem possible to me. I visited the property. And there's not just one tree, there's another tree right behind it.
Perhaps the applicant can address this?
Yes.
And
Thank you.
any other comments, questions? With that, then I'll ask, is the applicant or their agent present to, I believe they're online?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and committee. My name is Scott Paladre with G. Douglas Valley. I'm a planner. Obviously, Roxanne has provided a great overview of the application. I think specifically to answer some of the questions I've heard, the building in the back of the proposed newly severed lot is just a detached accessory structure. It's to provide that extra storage for whoever's living in there, to make sure that one-car garage stays a one-car garage and has the required 2 parking spaces, one in the driveway and one in the garage, required by the bylaw. There's no other uses intended in that building back there, other than just to be an accessory structure to the dwelling. Specifically with the tree, obviously there's the tree protection plan required. It is in the municipal right of way, so obviously the applicant, one, has no intention of cutting it down. It is a big, beautiful tree. And obviously, that's protected by municipal bylaws and standards. So they'll be required to submit a tree protection plan as part of their, I believe, to clear one of the conditions, to ensure that even if we'll have to make the driveway work and go around the tree, if we have to come up with sort of some sort of alternative solution at the road. But from what we've looked at and how we've measured through the survey and the site visits, we can make the driveway work without damaging the tree. And obviously I can answer any other questions the committee might have.
Can you address Member Panag's concerns about how the tree will be protected and with installing a driveway there?
So with regards to the tree protection plan, we obviously have to, I believe there's some requirements to have it protected with some, I believe some wood protection around it. I don't know the details or the requirements required of it. We just know we have to satisfy the Brant County requirement. In terms of fitting a driveway in there, from the survey and from our site visits, but from our civil engineers, we will be able to install the driveway without damaging the tree.
Member Panay, go ahead.
Through the chair, question on the driveway. If you try to put a driveway 5 meters there and the roots of that large tree are coming into that area, unless if you cut the roots, the tree will die. There's just,
Yeah, I'm not a tree expert. I'm not sure what your expertise on trees is as well. I guess that would be, we'd have to work with the city forester and development engineering because we're well aware that we're not allowed to be causing any harm to that tree.
it's my concern that there's no way you can go around the tree to put a driveway there.
Yeah, and I guess from our civil engineers, they've taken a look at it and they can make a driveway work without hurting the tree. So that's the information I'm providing to the committee tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments to the agent? Member Hamilton?
Yeah, through the chair to the agent. I'm looking at the retained parcel where the house is there, and you've got a proposed building being put behind, and it's an ARU. So you're taking a chunk of land that's not that wide anyways, and you're gonna have potentially 3 families living on it, or am I misunderstanding the ARU that's proposed at the back of the current house?
Yeah, so the ARU is there, and the ARU and all parking and all bylaw requirements are achieved.
Oh, it's already there now then?
It is not already there, but it is, even after the severance, it has been reviewed against the applicable zoning bylaw and meets all requirements for lot coverage, parking, height. So it's just, we had provided that as part of the Brant County Development Engineering did want to see a sort of a comprehensive development application. So that's why it was put on there, but it is not there as currently.
All right, thank you. I may want to just follow that up with staff. There was nothing stated in here for an ARU being established on the retained portion. And I was just wondering, he's claimed everything's done and signed, sealed, and delivered. Is that true?
Through Madam Chair to committee member. So right now, this is a conceptual plan. The ARU is not there yet. It has been reviewed, but because this is a severance application, we're mainly looking at the severance portion. That being said, all of this, any new development will be reviewed through the technical review with the building permit and ensure that all zoning requirements are being met, which means that grading will have to be looked at as well as drainage. Like all of this is going to be part of the whole technical review. The site plan agreement as well is going to ensure that drainage is working properly on the land. So just wanted to make that statement. I hope that answers your question.
All right, so basically, it'll get looked at in the future and then may or may not go depending on if it meets the qualifications.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, the reason I bring that up is that we did get a thing tonight from somebody in the neighborhood that was concerned that the infilling was too much. And I can say, if we add the one house, that's fine, or the new house, or on the severed part. But if we add an ARU, we're adding a whole bunch more, and maybe the parking is there right now, but all I seen was one pickup beside the old truck, and all that's gotta be moved back in there, beside that same tree that we're concerned about, and then made bigger at the back, or am I misinformed?
Through the Madam Chair to committee member, I know that right now there is a structure there at the back of that retained parcel.
An old garage, yes.
Yes, correct. And as such, like even if this wasn't going through a severance application, essentially they could go in and put an ARU there, but this is all going to be reviewed, right, through the building permit process. So anyone could come in for an application, but it will be reviewed in the end to ensure that grading and all of the requirements are being met.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I would only ask, can the agent address, or did you see the comments received from the resident at 6 Queen Street? Because their main points were that it was incompatible with the neighborhood. It sets a precedent. It impacts the neighborhood character adversely. It's over-intensification, parking, access, and adjoining property issues, and
Yeah, so through the chair, yes, to answer those, we did review and discuss those quite at length as part of the zoning application. This zone does permit semis and townhouse units as well. On a lot this size, most developers, it is large enough, in fact, to actually fit 3 townhouses on it. Each that could also, because of how deep the lot is, could also have ARUs as of right. The builder is a local builder, local Paris builder, wants to keep it in compatibility with the neighborhood as much as possible. And that's where we went and looked at. There are several lots. I think there was, the count was almost 20 lots in the area that are in that 8 to 10 to 11 meter wide. There are semi-detached on similar lot sizes just down the road at 7 and 5 Queen Street that are 2-story. It meets all other sort of zone performance standard requirements in terms of setbacks, lot coverages, landscape, open space. So it still provides that same general feel as the neighborhood because it does meet all of those zone performance standards. If this was a semi-detached instead of a single detached, it could be built as of right on a lot that's approximately the same width. I believe it's 8.5 or 9 meters required for a semi-detached. And so this, we wouldn't be requiring this if it was a semi-detached unit, but because it is a single detached, that's why the bylaw has those different zone standards. So again, we did review it quite heavily as part of the zoning application. Lots of lots in the area about the same size. This, in fact, even provides greater setbacks than some of the other houses in the area, including the one on the retained lands that only has a 2-meter front yard. But that's an existing legal non-conforming or non-complying issue. Hopefully that answers your question, Madam Chair.
any other comments, questions? In your response, you mentioned that the severed lot, if it is severed tonight, will potentially be capable of having an ARU. So that was a question about when I looked at the diagram with the yellow box in the back. So potentially that could be an ARU as well too. There would be sufficient room.
On the severed lot?
Yes.
No, because with parking, there's not the space to get that as we're currently showing on the plan. And then with the development agreement, basically, this development would be locked almost exactly into this form. So there's not a way to get parking for an ARU in either the house or the detached accessory structure. So no, there is no intent to put any ARUs on the severed lands.
Thank you. Then I'll open up the public portion of this application. And is there anybody who wishes to speak to this in the audience? Then I'll close the public portion of this application, and I'll request the committee members, do you have any further comments or questions for clarification? It appears there are none, so I'll request that a motion be put forth. Member Hamilton?
I move that we accept application B 32-25-RF with the conditions that have been put forward because it has met the official plan of the County of Brant and the zoning bylaws.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to this? Member Smith? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes?
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
No?
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Panag,
No.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Brown, yes. The motion has carried, though there have been some votes against it. So the application has now been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce item 5.3 for application B3-26-LK and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report.
I'll be presenting consent application B326LK from Ethan Clough of GSP Group on behalf of the owner Sanjit Sodhi for lands located at 40 and 50 Markle Drive. Subject lands are located on the west side of Markle Drive, east of Rest Acres Road and north of the 403. Between the two lots, the area is approximately 0.8 acres with 86 meters of frontage along Markle Drive. Both 40 and 50 Markle are currently vacant lots. Subject lands are currently designated as community corridor within the official plan and zoned as general commercial C2 within the zoning bylaw. The application proposes the consolidation of Block 6 and Block 7 within the registered plan of subdivision 2M 1973 into one lot, resulting in a lot area of approximately 0.8 hectares and a frontage of 86 meters along Markle Drive. The application is being brought forward as a consent application in order to progress with the development of the subject lands in a timely manner. In plans of subdivision, abutting lots under the same ownership, it will merge on title after 8 years. Essentially, the subdivision is not at that threshold as of right now, and in order to progress its development, the application is being consolidated, or is being brought forward as a consent application. The application conforms to the applicable policies of the Planning Act, the provincial planning statement, official plan, and zoning bylaw, and any future development of the subject lands will be reviewed through a site plan control process. In accordance with the Planning Act, notice of the application was mailed to the property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, and a public notice sign was posted. As of today, no public comments or objections have been received. As a result of my review of the application and for the reasons outlined in my report, it is my professional opinion that application B326LK be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan, for the presentation. Do committee members have any comments or questions to staff on this application? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff or maybe our secretary, we've received a new attached one, and I'm just wondering what the differences is between the one that was sent out and the one that was handed out tonight.
Thank you through the chair. So I will confirm that originally we did have a condition on there for a draft reference plan. Generally, that is used to create the legal description, which is then used to create the lots. However, in this case, because they are both clearly described as part of a plan of subdivision, it was agreed that a new survey would not be required, and we can just use those descriptions to consolidate.
Okay, thank you. But we are approving the amended, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
that would be
okay.
correct.
Any other comments, questions? I just have a quick one. On the last page of your report, it's a letter from the owner of 60 Markle Drive, and he has requested in his point 2 that the design is supposed to be including the cross-traffic as shown on his site plan. So I'm just wondering, is that something we would address with an additional condition?
Through the chair, I don't believe that we would need an extra condition added for this request. This would be handled at the time of site plan application, to ensure that both properties, I guess, function together appropriately.
Okay, thank you. Then is the applicant or their agent?
Good evening. My name is Ethan Clue. I'm a planner with GSB Group here on behalf of the owner. We have reviewed the staff report and are in support of staff's recommendation to approve the application subject to the list of conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Do committee members have any questions, comments to the agent? Yes, Member Smith?
Through the chair, because sometimes you break lots to redeeming by law, so I just want to make sure on the applicant side of things that this was the correct way, based on your experience, to actually break these two lots so they can merge. If you can provide a bit of feedback on that.
Yeah, of course. Through the chair, yeah, we did evaluate a couple options with county as well as with the client's legal team. With the deeming bylaw, I believe it was an 8-year threshold where we haven't met that yet. Therefore, so we did evaluate a zoning bylaw route as well as part lot control, but we felt that the consent application was the most efficient route to address this matter.
Any other comments, questions to the agent? Since there are none, I will open the public portion of this application. Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak to this? And since there appears to be none, I will now close it. Then I'll ask committee members, do you have any final comments or questions to staff or the agent? Then can I ask for a motion from the committee on this application? Member Panay, can you please put forth your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that application number B3-26-LK be approved as per conditions attached,
These amended conditions?
amended conditions.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Schmidt? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes?
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Famous?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Panay?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B326LK has carried. It has now been approved. I'll now introduce item 5.4 for application B30-25-RF and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report.
I'll be presenting consent application B30-25-RF for an inadvertent merger at 75 Highway 53, submitted by Trevor Hawkins on behalf of the owner, Chris Martin. This application was deferred by committee on January 16, 2026, to allow applicant time to provide further information regarding the history and timeline of the inadvertent merger. It is now being brought back for your consideration. Staff are still recommending approval of this application, subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Subject lands are located on south of Highway 53 with private servicing. Subject lands are designated as agricultural and natural heritage system and zoned agricultural and natural heritage. This application proposes to reestablish the original lot configuration of the parcels at 75 Highway 53, where the parcels unintentionally merged, untitled due to common ownership. Based on a review of the information that was available to staff, the subject lands merged in the 1970s, with the first parcel purchased in 1974 and the second in 1976. And based on this information that was provided by the applicant, and when the subject lands were converted from land registry to land titles in 2002, one PIN was created. The abutting parcels at 51 and 53 Highway 53 existed in 1966 This was based on aerial photos and a road realignment reference plan. Additionally, it seems that the owner does get 2 different tax bills. A copy of the tax bills was establishment of parcel does reflect the original lot lines and comply with planning policies without creating any new lots. Each parcel will keep its existing agricultural use. The natural heritage features will be protected and maintained within the retained lands. A road widening will be required on Highway 53 and Harley Road to align with the official plans right away. And to allow future maintenance and improvements. No development has been proposed as part of this application. Notice of this application was circulated by mail on April 1st to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands in accordance with the Planning Act. A site visit was conducted on December 17th, and the public notice was posted on the property on April 1st. Staff received and responded to questions from the previous meeting, and no further comments or questions have been received to date. In conclusion, the lands merged unintentionally due to common ownership and remained merged when they were converted from land registry land titles, process that was done by the government. The lands were purchased as one parcel, and this application is requesting the parcels exactly as they were before the merger. The abutting smaller lots north of the subject lands existed in 1966 prior to the inadvertent merger. As such, it is my professional opinion that consent application to reestablish the parcels at 75 Highway 53 due to inadvertent merger is appropriate and technical in nature, and therefore I am recommending that application B30-25-RF be approved, subject to the attached conditions. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Roxana, for the presentation. I'll ask committee members, do you have any comments or questions on this application? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, on page 5 of the report, it says a zoning bylaw amendment will not be required to recognize undersized lots as they are still deemed to comply with the minimum lot established within the comprehensive zone. Are we talking about what it was at that time, or are we talking about present day? Because I thought present day was 40 hectares.
Through the chair to committee member, this application is not looking to create new lots. It's looking to correct an inadvertent merger. So as such, no lots would be created if the inadvertent merger was to be reestablished to its original lot configuration.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure that out, so thank you.
Any other comments? Member Smith?
So through the chair, just so I can get this clear in my mind, so Chris Martin owned the first parcel, 1973. He purchased the abutting parcel, 1975. They merged common ownership, and it has remained in Chris Martin's name to this day. Because I remember it being under different ownership when it last came, so I just want to confirm the ownership.
Through you, Madam Chair, to committee member, this was an inadvertent merger that occurred through a previous owner, I believe, also with the last name Martin, Daryl, sorry, I can't remember his name right now, off the top of my head. So Chris Martin is the current owner right now, and through parcel registers and information provided to staff, they must have realized that this was merged inadvertently. I believe that the applicant is here and they can answer more questions regarding the history of exactly what happened.
Thank you. I have a hard time when we're calling it going back to parcel from 1975 when we can probably just address it as a severance application. So that's what I'm just trying to kind of understand the timeline. So thank you.
Yeah.
Member Emmett, please go ahead.
That's where I have some confusion with this application. Back when I started farming, I took over the father-in-law and his brother's farms. They were 2 separate parcels. One brother owned one half, one brother owned the other half. We were told when we took over ownership that if the same person owned both properties, they automatically became one property. That was why at that time we put 2 different names on the deeds to keep them separate. And I'm talking about when I took over the farm, it's roughly the same time as the mid-seventies, so I think the rules have changed maybe since then, but back in the seventies, that was my understanding of the rules, so I can understand some confusion about whether they should be separate or together, so.
Any other comments or questions? Member Hamilton?
Through the staff, through the chair to staff, there was nothing put in here that we need to identify this new severed part as it doesn't have a 911 number. So we would need to probably add a condition unless somebody can tell me what the 911 number is of the severed part. Because the two, you're separating, I mean, you have two pieces, but you can't call them both the same one. So I'm just asking if there's the, no house.
Then I have a question. Could you put up some of your previous slides, because you had the one which referred to 2002? Right here. So basically, and maybe this follows Member Smith's question too. So are we saying here that because they only became the one parcel because in the way the land registry changed, that occurred in 2002, and then one PIN was created? That's the basis for them merging?
Through you, Madam Chair, through the parcel registry, we could see that there were two separate parcels under the same ownership. And I'm assuming that this was not corrected at the time. And when the new land registry was switched over to the new land titles, it seemed like it created this one PIN because the lands were under the same ownership already.
But what if so now in 2026, we are saying that the intent, even though Member Emmett pointed out, I guess it was common knowledge, that you didn't have lands abutting that were owned in the same name, and I'm thinking of north of St. George, we had an issue way back, it was in the late 90s, and they clearly proved that it was a lawyer error. It wasn't supposed to be registered that way. So are we saying now, 50 years later, we're correcting something and it's changed ownership since?
Through you, Madam Chair. So basically, our recommendation is based on the information that was given to us. And I can say that we're basing this recommendation on the history of the parcel, and that is technical in nature. As to the intent, I would leave that up to the applicant to advise what their intent is.
Okay. But it is 2002 when the PIN was created.
Yes.
Out of two roll numbers, and there still is two roll numbers?
Through you, Madam Chair. So through the property tax copies that we got from the applicant, we do see that they get two different property taxes per parcel. Unfortunately, we do not see the roll number in our system, but it is in their property tax copy. So essentially, there is two roll numbers. We just don't see it in our system because there's only one PIN.
But I'm thinking of clients I've had over the years, and they had abutting parcels, and there were two roll numbers, and I don't ever recall anyone raising the issue. It was a problem because it was common ownership. But, well, I guess, Member Emmett, go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering, has staff checked into the rules of the province, whether this is the way to do it or whether we're just going on the applicant's hearsay?
Through you, Madam Chair, policy does permit for technical, for the reestablishment of inadvertent mergers to be reconfigured back to the original part, I guess, lot configuration through technical matters. So there's really no other indication as to what we need to look for. We just try to look for proof and evidence through parcel registers that were given to us, tax copy, aerial images. So I hope that answers your question.
Maybe it's time, oh, go ahead, Member Smith.
If I can maybe just make a comment as well, and I guess more to the committee. So I guess it follows two type of policies. We can follow this one where it's technical in nature, something that happened 50 years ago, and we can go down that policy path, or we can go down the policy path of just a straight severance. And that's kind of where my questions were leading. This happened 50 years ago, so I have a hard time calling it a technical in nature. That's why I'm saying it maybe needs to go down the other policy of just calling it a straight up severance. And I think that's where we're getting caught up because we're following dates from 50 years ago. So I just want to make that clear, and maybe the applicant can maybe give us a little bit of detail on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I will ask, is the applicant present online or? Oh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Gaudet, and I'm a planner with MHBC. I'm here on behalf of my colleague Trevor Hawkins, who had a conflict and is at a separate council meeting tonight. I'm here to answer any questions. We did review staff's report, are in support of the recommendation for approval and the proposed conditions. I apologize as I am filling in for my colleague, but just to pick up on some of the questions that were asked of Ms. Flores tonight. My understanding is that the previous owner from the 1970s has since passed away, so we've been unable to get any sort of idea about the intent or their knowledge of the merge at that time. We do know, as Ms. Flores has mentioned, that they did continue to receive 2 tax bills, so we can't confirm one way or the other if they were aware that the parcels merged. I can tell you that the intent is to keep both parcels in agricultural production. There's no, development proposed for either parcel. And my understanding is that the request is for succession planning and financial purposes. It's not development.
Thank you. Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through this chair to the applicant, when did Mr. Martin buy this farm? We know when Don Martin bought it, but when did Chris Martin or Chris Martin's company buy it?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton, I don't know the exact date. I believe it was in the last decade or so.
In the last decade. Okay, well, that's fair. When they purchased this land and the application or the purchase agreement put together, did they put 2 purchase agreements together, one for each parcel on the roll call, or did they put one together that included both?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton, I don't have any information one way or the other to confirm.
And yeah, I'm putting you in a tough position, but these are things that if we're looking at this to right or wrong, we need to know. But if he went ahead and purchased that 50 acres or 135, whatever it is, under one thing, and now he's coming back afterwards and saying, well, there was 2 parcels there, I have a hard time saying that. It should have been done at the time of purchase, that he identified both and done it at that time and made the purchase, and then we wouldn't be here tonight discussing it.
Any other comments, questions? Member Panag?
Through the chair, maybe this can clarify, are you getting 2 tax bills or 1?
Through the chair to Member Penang, 2 tax bills.
Two tax bills. Is it separate PIN numbers or two tax bills?
So as Ms. Flores explained, there are two roll numbers,
Right.
but one PIN. And that PIN was that 2002 number that was referenced by the chair earlier. So my understanding is the county's system does not reflect the two roll numbers, but MPAC's system does.
So maybe it's for tax purposes, they merge the two together to make one tax bill,
There are two tax bills.
two
There are
tax
two.
bills. So that means there's two parcels.
I think we are looking at a lot of information required. I thought this application would come back with documents attached supporting, you know, the inadvertent merger and then the intent around the purchase, and now we're finding out it was purchased 10 years earlier. So I don't know, are there any further questions or comments? Because I tend to agree with Member Smith's comment that maybe it should come back under a new application for a severance. Go ahead, please. Member
Well, and
Smith.
through the chair, I feel like it's coming forward this way because the parcels don't meet the 40 acre or 40 hectare
Right.
minimum requirement, and I don't feel comfortable with it coming forward this way with something that happened 50 years ago. So that's just, I'll say
Yes.
my piece with it.
My thought as well.
Go from there.
And with that, I think we've probably obtained, because we seem to be asking the same questions of staff and the agent and getting the same answers, and they're, for us, I like to see whole documents, and I'm not getting any further than I got on the original application. So I will open up the public portion of this meeting now, this application, and it appears there's someone in the audience who wishes to speak to it. Am I correct? Okay, well then I will ask you to come to the podium. And please identify yourself and your address. And I'll remind you that we've looked at a number of options on this or seeking information, and you have a limit of 10 minutes. Actually, we're a committee of adjustment.
My name is Tim Hargreaves. I live at 53, Highway 53. That property is right behind my house. I'm a little confused. I've lived there for almost 25 years. Don Martin has been farming it. He passed 5 years ago or so. Now his daughter has the property. She wants to sever it. Correct me if I'm wrong. To bring it back to two pieces of property, originally owned by two separate brothers. If it's gonna stay the same, why does it have to be severed to begin with? It's still farm property, right? Who owned it all originally? I'm confused about that whole, and how did myself and my neighbor, Patref, get our houses in that little corner? Who severed that? That's all I have to say about it. I was just a little confused about the whole program here. Something doesn't look right. Thank you.
Any comments, questions? Member Peneg?
Madam Chair, I have a comment that the merge happened automatically and was not requested by the owner. So,
In 2002.
yes, so there are two parcels. Somehow it happened at the city or the county level, and we should be able to sever them, just the way it was before.
Then I will ask Member Smith your comment on that.
Maybe just a comment, because I think there's some confusion with the 2002 date. So essentially, when you put them in the same title back in the day, in the 1970s. You put them in the same name, they merged automatically. However, sometimes that didn't get picked up by the registry office until later, when they converted to land titles, which was in that 2002 date. That's when they would have assigned them one PIN. Before that 2002, even though they would have had the two PINs, legally, they were merged. And if a lawyer would have reviewed that, they would have seen that. So I think just to clarify, they actually did merge under common ownership in 1975, but 2002, they just would have been assigned one PIN. Roll numbers are not attached to PINs, so you could have 5 tax rolls on one property. So just to maybe a little bit of clarification, because I think we should be looking at this in terms of just a severance, 2 parcels, and the size of them. That's my thoughts.
I agree. And my thoughts that if they merged when the purchase occurred back in the 70s, there was a lot of time that, and it sounds like other family members were involved. Probably there was some planning going on in those years where somebody would have said, oh, gee, we've got one parcel. Maybe we should have done a technical correction in the 80s, 90s, or even early 2000s. But my interpretation of the provincial policy statement is it's for a legal and technical correction when it's a current owner. And this is no longer the case, a current owner from the 1970s. So unless the committee has any more comments or questions on this, I'll ask, and does anyone? I think we've beaten it to death. Member Vamus, would you like to make a motion?
Through the chair, I just had just a comment to the committee. What they're saying, I have a farm and it has different PIN numbers, different roles, but it's one identity. And I have another farm and it has 4 different roll numbers. And so 2 years ago, the one farm, they took all my roll numbers away. So I've been fighting with Impact. I'm trying to get all my roll numbers back because they consolidated into one. Well, instead of four parcels, it's one. Well, I'm trying to get my four identities back. But my other farm, it didn't merge. So I have 2 PINs, 2 roll numbers, 2 taxes, but it's on one farm. It's kind of like two deeds. So I have the extreme in both situations. You know, so I don't view it as roll number or tax bills or property tax. I view it more as a severance issue. See, my farms, these parcels, there's never been a severance. Where this property, there's been multiple severances over the years. So that the PINs and roll numbers are all mixed up because even my own situation, but I'm looking at more at severances. There's been lots of severances already on this property. So I don't care how many roll numbers or PINs, and it's been severed so many times already. That's why now we're severing it 2 more times. It's just a comment.
Thank you. Then I'll ask, is the committee providing a motion now? Member Panag.
I'd like to make a motion that application B30-25-RF be approved.
Do I have a seconder?
Didn't hear. What was the?
He made a motion
To.
approve the application.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a seconder? It appears there's none, so the motion has failed. Could I have a new motion? Member Smith?
Can I maybe ask a question? And I don't want to suggest a deferral, but if that will provide the applicant with an opportunity to come back so we can look at this at a bit of a different way, maybe through to staff for a little bit of opinion on that, if that's possible. I just think the way it's been presented is not at least something that I can support in current time. So, sorry, I just wanted to maybe ask that question before we proceed.
Is there anything, did you hear Member Smith's question, comment?
Yes, through the chair. So the lawyers did do a thorough review and they couldn't find any sort of application in the past that would indicate that these lands had to merge. Even through the parcel register, there's nothing there that indicates that that there was an application ever made for the lands to merge.
Just wanted to ask.
So is a committee member prepared to make a motion? So if no one is willing to second the motion to approve, I would assume someone's willing to make a motion to deny?
I will make a motion I'll second that motion, but I would like to talk about two things. One is a 911 number for the severed piece.
So then you will add it as a condition?
And the second thing is that we make it an A9, no building in the future could be put on it because it's an undersized thing.
I don't know if we can actually do that because it's not technically a severance application. Can we?
It's a severance. They're asking for a severance.
No, but it hasn't gone, it's a,
Yeah.
the intent is because it's a correction.
Through you, Madam Chair, this is not a severance, so therefore that wouldn't technically apply to this application since this is an inadvertent merger that would reestablish the lots back to their original parcels.
Okay, then I won't second it. Sorry, I'll take mine back.
And we would. Can I get a motion that, yes, Member Smith?
I'll make a motion not to approve B 3025 as the application is not consistent with the provincial planning statement or the County of Brant official plan and does not conform to the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Member Schmidt. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes?
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Penag,
No.
Member Smith.
Yes.
Brown, yes. The application has been denied based on votes. I will now introduce item 5.5 for application B1-26-RF and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report.
I'll be presenting consent application B126-RF for minor lot line adjustment at 327 West Quarter Town Line Road, submitted by Gary Overbeek, owner of the subject lands. Staff are recommending approval of this application, subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Subject lands are located west of West Quarter Town Line Road with a frontage of 57.91 meters and an area of approximately 0.4 hectares. The subject lands contain a single detached dwelling, 2 detached accessory structures, and a pool. Surrounding land uses are predominantly farmland and natural heritage with some residential. Subject lands are privately serviced. The subject lands are designated as agriculture and within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as agricultural within the zoning bylaw. This application proposes a minor boundary adjustment to transfer a parcel of land having approximately 4.6 meters and an area of 0.06 hectares from the property legally described as Concession 7, Part Lot 19, to be severed and conveyed to the abutting parcel at 327 West Quarter Town Line Road. This consent application is required mainly to resolve tree line encroachments, but also a shed, and will bring the property into compliance. Through the circulation of commenting agencies and review of this application, it has been determined that the boundary adjustment is minor in nature. No new lots are being created through this application. The existing uses of both parcels will remain unchanged. The adjustment is not anticipated to impact any future development potential or land use on either property. The lands to be severed are not located within any natural heritage features. Oh, sorry, going back, just the pictures there, numbered 1 and 2, it's just showing you what the proposed lot lines are in red. Notice of this application, including contact information and the date of public hearing, was circulated by mail on April 2nd, 2026, to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands in accordance with Section 45.5 of the Planning Act. A site visit was conducted on April 1st, 2026, and the public notice sign was posted on the property 2nd, 2026. No public comments were received as part of this application. In conclusion, the boundary adjustment is minor and technical in nature. It doesn't create new lots, change permitted uses, or impact future development. It simply resolves a minor encroachment of the trees and brings property into compliance. It is my professional opinion that consent application B126-RF be approved, subject to the attached conditions. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Roxana, for the presentation. Are there any comments, questions from committee members? It appears there are none. I only have a short one on condition 5 that's requiring for building permits. Is that just to check that the building permit was issued for that shed?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. That's just to ensure that the shed has permit.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? And is the applicant or agent present and wish to add to the staff report? Yes? You're okay with all of, thank you. Then I'll open up I'll ask, do committee members have any comments, questions to the applicant? Since there are none, I'll open up the public portion of this application. And anyone wishing to speak to it, speak now. There's no one, so it's closed. And then I'll ask for any final comments or questions. Member Vamus?
Yes, through the chair, I had a questioning of the staff, the applicant. When the applicant built the shed and planted the trees, were they aware where the property lines were?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is my understanding that the owner of the lands was not given the actual appropriate boundary lines. So when they planted these trees, they were assuming that they were planting them within their property boundaries, but then they discovered that it wasn't. So they were misinformed as to where these property lines were in the beginning. But the owner is here, and he may be able to provide more information if you have other questions.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wondering if I'm putting a fence or planting trees or building a shed, I'm going to find out where the property line is before I do it. It's just common sense.
Okay. Thank you. Then if there's no further comments or questions, I'll request the committee to put forth a motion. Member Panag?
I'd like to make a motion that application B1-26-RF be approved, subject to attached conditions.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Hamilton? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
No?
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Panag?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B126RF has carried, so that application is now approved. We will now move to other business. Item 6.1, update to the community planning permit system, and I'll turn it over to the staff for the presentation.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize to everyone that I'm not there in person this evening. I've come down with a bit of a cold, so I thought it'd be best just to keep my distance that way. So what we have in front of you this evening is a memo intended to provide the committee with an update on the community planning permit system. and a possible direction that council may be asked to consider later this spring. So no decisions have been made, as it's mentioned in that memo, but we recognize the potential implications for the committee's role. We felt it was important to brief you directly on that. So as outlined in the memo, planning authority that's currently exercised by the committee would be expected to return to council. So in the case of variances, and then there would be some delegation to staff as well for that. For discussion on things like signs, fences, and property standards, that would still be expected to remain with the committee at this time, with the expectation that there'd be some discussions later in the year to determine what the best steps are for that. So whether that stay with this committee or the committee is restructured into a different format, those conversations haven't really begun yet. So obviously we would keep you in the loop and have you involved with that. So we recognize, obviously, this is a bit of a challenging topic, but we wanted to provide you this information now, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'll ask committee members, do you have any comments or questions on this? Member Emmett, please go ahead.
Okay, earlier tonight, we had some discussion about the way the sequence of the applications were put through the system. I'll go back to the Queen Street, or Ave, whatever it was. We had the slide up that it's the order of progression, but it also had, the last slide says revised or revision, went to council before the decision was finalized. But the other slide since that slide hasn't been there. It's always been the way it's been in the past. So I just wondered if we had that one slide inserted incorrectly tonight.
Well, maybe to throw that one to Dan or Nicole.
Through Madam Chair, I think it may have been a carryover from Roxy's presentation to council, which does have additional steps in the next steps slide.
I presume that's what it was, and I was just making sure that I thought we made the final decision subject to the land tribunal.
So through you, Madam Chair, for clarification on that application and Member Smith's comments, typically we deal with the land use permissions first. So it's always been the county's approach in dealing with applications that have a related zoning bylaw amendment application and then a related severance, that the severance or the zoning application be processed first. It requires a much larger circulation, more in-depth review in terms of land use, appropriate land use, and perhaps Brandon can elaborate on how this Queen Street application would look under the new CPPS process.
Thanks, Dan, and through you, Madam Chair, just with respect to that specific application. So the idea with that is that we would be approaching them through kind of a one window approach, with the delegated authority for the permissions returned to council. So the idea is that they would be able to hear the applications concurrently at the same time in the same meeting, to help kind of reduce potential confusion and make it a bit easier for people to come out and provide their opinion that way. So that's the high level kind of intention and discussions we've had with council behind that, and that's how that would look specifically in that instance, the Queen Street application.
Does that answer your question, Member Emmett? Member Hamilton, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Brandon, some of the previous stuff I said on some of the minor variances and things like that, you had stated, or well, the policy had stated that it would be run through the planning department, which was fine if they were very minor and rubber stamped and everything like that. If there was a little more discussion or delegations coming into it, it was to go to council, I believe, for them to do versus just the staff looking after it. Am I right or am I wrong with that?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. So the intention is that the variation levels would be very clearly defined in the community planning permit system. They would be chosen by council. If it goes beyond that number specifically, then the decision would lay with council. If it stays behind that number, and it's considered kind of a minor adjustment. So it's almost as though the zoning bylaw now is able to give a bit of a range of numbers that can be met. And though that range of numbers is intended to be minor. So as long as an application falls in that minor range, that's where the staff delegation falls. If it's beyond that and more complicated, that's where the council delegation of authority would be.
So as it becomes more complicated, it would go to council, similar to what the zoning ones do. You put it together, but they end up having the final say, yay or nay, or maybe wish to look at changing it slightly if they felt right. That's what I'm understanding, what you're saying?
Yeah, through the chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have a question, again, back to the Queen Street. At what stage then would the public, like in that neighborhood, be informed? Because as you see, we had comments coming in as an addendum. So will the application go to council and then it's held where people speak to it then? How are they going to be notified that someone did that application on 14 Queen Street and have enough notice to think about what it does to their neighborhood?
Yeah, to you, Madam Chair, thank you for that question. So that's a good example of where we're trying to front end our public engagement for all of our planning applications in the future. So the onus would then fall on the applicant to provide that information to the neighborhood. They may be required to host a neighborhood meeting to give opportunity to collect feedback before the application can even be submitted. And then they would also be responsible for providing what that feedback was. Staff would be there at the meeting if that is the method that's taken. And then the application would need to address how those comments are being addressed. So that would all be required before they can formally submit their application to the municipality for consideration.
And will the municipality mandate the types of communications that have to be sent out by the applicant?
Yes, they would. So that will be a decision of council that's made when the bylaw is passed itself. But at this point, for minor stuff, that would be staff delegated. A mail circulation and a website notice will likely be the minimum that's required. And then anything that's a bit greater than that would require a neighborhood meeting and some more engagement to happen up front.
And would the boundaries of notification be expanded?
That is something we are discussing. We brought forward an official plan amendment in February that did expand some of the boundaries for certain applications we know are contentious. One example being aggregate pits. We expanded the radius for that. We know everyone is interested in when those are going in near them. So similarly, we would take that approach with the community planning permit system and scale the radius to the complexity of the application.
So you're basing your recommendation on the attendance and the attendance at your public meetings and the responses that you received there. And how many responses did you receive?
To our survey, let me just double check. I believe it was around 60, but I can verify that for you. Just give me one moment. Yeah, we had 65 residents attend the open houses and we had 59 surveys that were submitted for that phase of engagement. And just so everyone is aware as well, there will be a second phase of engagement opening probably next week. The release of the draft bylaw is going to happen. And then people will have the rest of the month of April and into the month of May, probably the entire month of May, to have further discussions with staff. And there'll be opportunities for engagement about the bylaw itself specifically.
And you'll have open houses again, public?
We may not be doing open houses in the same format, but the intention is that we'll probably have some drop-in hours available during the week, and then we may do some pop-up times where we have a booth, say, at one of the sports complexes, just because we didn't get quite as many people as we liked during the open houses, so we'd like to try a bit harder to get to where the people are without throwing kind of a large shindig that people aren't attending.
Okay, thank you. Any Member Hamilton, you have a question?
I have a question, Brendan, that I was at two open houses at the time when you guys presented the CPPS, and you mentioned total 60 people attended, 3 days?
That's correct. Yeah, we had 4 open houses in total, and there were 60 people across the 4 of them.
Do you think that's enough people informed about it with the population of, let's say, 35,000?
Yeah, and we're a bit higher than that, 40,000, I think, we're inching on. In my opinion, at this point, no, it's not enough people. So that's why we're trying to rejig the approach we're taking with our next phase of engagement. We were talking today a bit about how to even just advertise a bit more to people. We did send out a postcard notice to every resident with some varying success, I think, but we were looking at billboard opportunities. Like I say, some pop-ups on the weekends where there's residents, say, attending a hockey game, those types of things. So we're trying to adjust that to get that number a lot higher. And then, of course, once the bylaw process goes forward, there'll be an education component that will continue to happen afterwards, because we know inevitably with projects like this, people don't think they're interested until it impacts them directly. So that's something we're well aware of, and we want to keep the education piece going beyond the approval of council.
Don't take me wrong, I like the idea of CPPS to speed things up for development, but then taking this away from Committee of Adjustment, a lot of the applications, aren't you overloading the council and the planning staff?
It's a very good point. The idea is that there will be a different threshold for the assessment of the applications. So we won't have to deal with a monthly timeline to attend the meetings. It can happen, all of the kind of decision-making for the staff delegated stuff can happen at any point during the weekdays. So there's a bit of extra time that way and flexibility, and we're hoping that will level out. And from what we've seen in other municipalities, the information that we've looked into, that is what has happened. It has sped up the applications, and it hasn't overwhelmed staff or the councils.
And one more, like the application for 14 Queen Street today, I saw the sign there outside, sitting there. I think it was put away from the lawn along the house. So I don't think the neighborhood is informed enough about the changes going on in their neighborhood. So you're gonna do something about that, or the application gonna kind of squeeze through the cracks?
Yeah, no, thank you for that comment. And our intention is to do something like that. We've heard from residents, from council as well, that people aren't as informed as they would like to be. What I will say is it's a two-way street, and we recognize that people need to be aware of these things that are happening and be willing to invest in it. But there is a lot more that we can do as a municipality to try and bring that information closer to them. So things like updating the website so that all of the information is available in one spot for these applications. If you click on the application, any of the studies that have been done, any of that information is public, it's there. That's something we're working on. This idea of neighborhood meetings, we've even batted around the idea of hosting them once in a while, and whether it's quarterly in different locations, just to speak about growth, speak about development, get people interested in how things are changing, and try and answer questions. So there's a different component, I think, there that staff is well aware of, that we need to get out into the community more and help people with understanding what growth and change look like in their communities and in their neighborhoods. And that happens at a larger level, but it will also happen at that level with each individual application through the CPPS.
Thank you. Those are my concerns. I just think that people should be informed more, and there should be more involvement of the application. Thank you.
Member Hamilton.
Brandon, just I need a little history on what's happening. Is Brant County leading the CPPS, or are we following some of our local ones like Oxford, Waterloo, or just getting a feel for what's happening throughout the rest of Ontario from that perspective, and what is Toronto's take on all this?
Yeah, thank you for that. And through you, Madam Chair, to the committee, the community planning permit system has been around for quite some time. It was formerly called the development permit system. And there were a couple municipalities that adopted it. I want to say was as early as 1998. So it's been around for a little while, but it has not had much of an uptake. So over the last probably 5 years, many more municipalities are looking to this tool because there's more flexibility in it when compared to the zoning site plan kind of variance standards, that tool, or those tools. So there are a lot more municipalities doing that. Some of them have undertaken it in smaller areas. They've started with a particular area. Guelph, kind of nearby, they've done it with a specific area of their town. Kitchener-Waterloo has looked into that as well. They've done it. I know Innisfil has a particular area, but then there are also, as of the last couple of years, municipalities that are doing it municipality-wide. Huntsville's an example of that. And the reason for that, and we've heard this from we meet regularly with all the municipalities that are undertaking CPPS projects, and we've heard from them, the ones that have done individual areas, because they're balancing two different frameworks. So their zoning framework, the regular one, and their CPPS framework, it's overloaded staff and council in that sense. But they've found that the CPPS framework itself is much easier to deal with. So they are now all starting to transition away from just a specific area and expanding that CPPS to the entire municipality. So there are lots of municipalities working through it. I want to say it was about 25 in Southern Ontario that have been working through it. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we'd be happy to provide a bit of more information specifically to the committee on that if that's the desire. We have some of that in the previous staff reports as well. But needless to say, yeah, we're not necessarily leading the charge right now, but we are at kind of the front end of it and pushing forward, at least from applying it to the entire municipality. We have a few people that have taken that on ahead of us, but yeah, definitely something that's catching on in Ontario, and I suspect with the province downloading more changes, they've been consistently changing zoning, they've been consistently changing site plan, but they haven't touched the community planning permit system to date. So the flexibility kind of remains there for that system, and it's something that certainty is very appealing to municipalities right now as well. So a little bit of background information, I hope that helps a little bit, but otherwise we'd be happy to provide a little bit more detail on the history of the CPPS.
I would like to be able to see some, and then I can go ahead and I can contact some of those and just feel, so I can understand better what's happening in some of the other municipalities that have taken it on in a bigger way. If they're taking one township out of a 10 township area trying it, that's a nice thing, but then my question then is why not the rest of them taking on if it's such a working and doing such a good job from a flexibility. So it's just, if we could get a little of that, I'd appreciate it, Brendan.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to provide that. And just one more comment from Madam Chair to the committee about that. I know a lot of the reasons we've heard from municipalities as to why they haven't taken this shift or why they're having difficulty taking the shift to the CPPS is frankly just the capacity for staff. Not a lot of municipalities have full staff complement to it. Not a lot of smaller municipalities, I should say, have a full staff complement to do policy projects of this nature. So in that regard, the County of Brant is lucky. And as well, there's also a bit of uncertainty, like we kind of said, around the entire system. It's a bit easier, I think, for smaller municipalities. If they are nimble, that way they can make those changes, but larger municipalities, the whole process kind of has to go through, right? There's lots more kind of cogs in the process to make those large changes and impacts that way. So I think from our larger friends in Toronto and Mississauga and that, that's why we haven't seen the changes that way, but we're starting to see the uptake in kind of mid-sized municipalities more so, and that's kind of the framework we're following.
So basically, any of the regional governments, have they taken this on, or is it more the independent county ones from that perspective?
There have been a few regional governments that have done it, but what they have done is just created a framework for the lower tier municipalities to use, and then it's up to the lower tier municipality to take that framework on itself and create their own, like insert their kind of specifics into that and then implement it.
Okay. I'm thinking of Hamilton Wentworth, or you're saying if you took Kitchener, Kitchener Waterloo one, the city of Kitchener could take it, but not Waterloo, and take it, and the regional wouldn't worry about it?
So with a regional government, because there's two tiers of planning, the planning realm, and with the province kind of mixing things up and taking away opportunities for the upper tiers to do planning, there's been some concern about them diving into those projects, like hesitation, again, uncertainty because of the provincial changes. But like I said, a few of the upper tiers did undertake their own kind of CPPS project prior to the provincial changes. But all that they can do in the context of their planning permissions and powers is just to hand that framework to the lower tiers and allow them to implement it. And a couple of them have. So we can provide some more of that information, like I say, a list of all the municipalities that are considering it. I'm happy to do that. And then if you have any more questions as follow-up, I'm happy to discuss that.
All right, thank you.
Sorry it's taking so long, but I have one more question, Brandon, since you are the manager. Can I suggest something that when we put an application and put a sign in front of a house that there's going to be a severance, can we tell the public that what could be there like this? We get this map, but somebody who's driving by and see the sign, there's a severance application, they don't know what's going to happen. Is it possible that right on the sign we can have a small drawing that this is what could happen, that people will realize that that's going to be in their neighborhood?
Yeah, of course, through the chair to the member, yes, that is our intention with this, because we have the opportunity to combine applications into one.
Yes.
The mapping and imaging would be a bit clearer of, okay, here's where the lot line will go, here's what's the future to be built here, or what the use would be. So that's one of the kind of benefits, I think, of this system, and that is our intention to do that. So I appreciate that feedback.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? I only wanted to make a suggestion about using, for example, the Glen Morris subdivision that seems to be showing a lot of controversy. It was at the meeting on Tuesday night, so maybe you could, in your educational sessions going forward for us, take an application like that, which a lot of people have concerns over, and I'm looking at it, if you're giving more to council, that was just an information session on that application, which technically isn't really been filed yet from what I understand. So how would that work under the new system? Would these information sessions be pulled away from council then? Because to me, if that's how it will work, this system, and all these information sessions have to go through council like what happened Tuesday night, I don't think council will get home before 1 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of meetings then.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, for that. And I don't think staff want to be there until 1 a.m. either. Right. So yeah, I appreciate that comment. I think with the intention of the engagement piece for the CPPS, keep in mind subdivisions will be a bit different, but quite often we see applicants coming in and they apply for their subdivision at the same time they apply for their official plan amendment or zoning bylaw amendment. So they want to do it all at once, but we kind of, the way our system is right now, it forces them to do things a bit separately. So the idea with this new system is that the engagement would be done first up front. It wouldn't necessarily need to happen at a council meeting in this instance, but it could happen at a localized neighborhood meeting. So we could have a meeting in Glen Morris, for example, for that particular example. It would be hosted. We would allow the public to get up and speak to it. Council would be invited, staff would be there. Similar format, just a different location and a different timing of it. So it wouldn't all happen once a month on a Tuesday for council to sit there through 7 applications. The idea is to spread that out a little bit more and bring it closer to home for people so that we can get some more meaningful feedback.
And as we've all agreed that the public doesn't engage until it's at the very end, how long a time period are you going to give, and I'll quote the Glen Morris subdivision again, how much time and how long a period are you going to give the public to get engaged?
Yeah, so there would be flexibility on that, Madam Chair. And when I say that, I mean we wouldn't be under the same pressure as the current framework with respect to the Planning Act application timelines. There's more flexibility in this system about when we deem something complete. So as long as we set up, say for an application of that nature, they're required to host 2 meetings and they have to be 2 months apart. We could require something of that nature to happen, to spread out the timing of it. And those would have to be hosted. They would have to be reported on back to staff, back to council, prior to the application actually being submitted. And it wouldn't be until that time that the application itself would be deemed complete. Whereas when we receive an application right now, there's pretty low standards about, and these aren't the municipalities' standards per se, but provincial standards about what we can do to accept or not accept an application. And essentially, if someone does accept or someone submits the application within 30 days, we have to deem it complete or refuse it or tell them that it's not complete. And there's been a growing difficulty about pushing back on stuff being incomplete. So this system, the CPPS doesn't have that same difficulty, not yet at least. And so that's what we're expecting transitioning to the system, is to front end some of that stuff, spread it out over not just Tuesday meetings, like I say, and provide opportunity for more meaningful feedback and more opportunity to get in touch with the community.
Okay, thank you. Everybody happy? Okay. Thanks for all the info.
Appreciate it. And we will, Madam Chair and the committee will follow up with some more information on the reports that have been sent forward to council so far and the examples from other municipalities. And if there's any questions, once that information is provided, feel free to follow up at any point. All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. You as well.
I guess since that's done, you don't have anything to add to it? No. Then we'll move to the next meeting scheduled date for May 21st, 2026. Is that part of the long weekend? It must be. May 24th weekend?
It's the weekend before.
Okay, that's good then. Thank you. Again, it's going to be hybrid and at 6. So, item 8, can I get a motion to adjourn? Member Emmett, who wants to second? Member Vamus, all in favor?